Young, talented, hungry, fearless, and currently the best, MAD Lions and Rogue are battling for sole control of first in the LEC. Could one of these teams be our summer champions? Are we watching history being made right here, right now? The MAD Lions, the explosive rookie lineup, took the league by storm in spring, stampeding their way into third place. Hell, they even beat G2 Esports in a best-of-5, the first EU team to do so since the Misfits in summer 2018. With their unique style, consistent development, and unbridled willingness to do their thing, their way, in their time, it makes MAD Lions a team to be feared. And this is just the beginning. Europe has a very long legacy of rookie lineups, making us proud on the international stage, and the MAD Lions are already almost there. Now the real question is, are they good enough to win Summer? Now Rogue, they certainly don't want all the limelight to be just on those MAD Lions. Last year, Rogue was the exciting team to watch. They were powered up by an ERL roster that beat the odds and surprised the league. From last place in spring to fourth in summer, only to drop out of the most recent spring playoffs in round 2, whilst those MAD Lions stole the glory and secured third. Now Rogue, they simply won't stand for that. In 2020 so far, they've shown growth, they've shown resilience, and they've been cementing themselves as a clear contender for the title. They consistently beat teams below them, but now they have to prove that they can consistently stay at the top by beating the top. Now, to put it in numbers, Rogue are dominant in their wins. They have the best Baron control, the second best Drake control, they are first in first turret percentage, they have the best kill-death ratio. They overcame their demons by proving they can beat the former kings of Europe. They did what they couldn't do in spring and showed us a new Rogue. Now, as we get into this, it's going to be a fantastic matchup because Rogue and the MAD Lions, they are escalating the pressure. And if these two teams continue to perform, continue to win, and challenge the status quo, they will stand tall above all. This is my match of the week. This is the battle for first place. And Fnatic and G2, listen to me. Watch closely and take notes. You are not the top contenders. You are not the best. You have to play catch up. You are the dark horses in the LEC today, whilst these two teams are breathing down your necks. It is my great pleasure to present to you Rogue versus MAD Lions.
Damn, it's my great pleasure to follow up on Sjokz fired. G2 playing catch-up, middle of the pack. I love to see it. And who am I to argue? You're right. This is the battle for first place. This is MAD Lions versus Rogue. I'm Drakos still. This is Froskurinn still. We're incredibly thrilled to be presenting to you the unofficial but kind of official match of the week here in our fourth game of the day, the battle at the top of the standings. And this is going to be a big one, Froskurinn.
Yeah, the gloves are off right now. No one would have expected that it would be MAD Lions and Rogue at the standings. Everyone was expecting that this is going to be G2, Fnatic. The match always delivers. And as Sjokz just so eloquently put, MAD Lions and Rogue have climbed themselves back up. Now, we are about to go into the draft phase, so I do want to quickly jump into it because we have a lot of questions to ask and we have a lot of problems to solve. Will you let Shadow get Lee Sin, and will you let Humanoid get Orianna? Because every single time these guys grab these champions, they have been explosive. Rogue are on red side, and banning or target banning from red side means that a lot of these OP champions get left open, and I actually don't think that punishes them because there's so many picks up. Because blue side only gets one pick, you leave all the OP opens, you target ban from red side, you then grab a really powerful second rotation.
Froskurinn, I feel like this draft has the most potential to get completely and totally wild. And quite frankly, I'm all about it. It is MAD Lions on the blue side. It is Rogue on the red. It is game 4 here in week 3 of the LEC. And it's time to get wild. It's time to get mad. It's time to go Rogue, whatever you're feeling at this exact moment in time. So I think we're going to have a mix, Froskurinn. I have to imagine there's going to be some stock standard, but the target bans, I think it's so good that you bring them up because we've seen what they can do on the MAD Lions side with the Lee Sin, with the Orianna. We'll wait for seconds until the Champions Select comes back, and I feel like those have to be ban-worthy.
And the question is what kind of draft are the MAD Lions going to put together? Because they've shown us or kind of led the charge on breaking the meta or even defining the meta in the LEC. They do not care about the big power picks like the Aphelios, like the Kalista, like the Varus. They will leave it open. They will give it to you because they have their counters.
How deep does it go, though? How much can they counter? And how does Rogue want to fight this one out? The Orianna and the Syndra banned away. Syndra stock standard. The Orianna, something special you have to feel given Humanoid's recent performances.
Humanoid has played 3 champions so far. Syndra, Orianna, and Azir. Now, we know that he has a really powerful LeBlanc, but one of our biggest criticisms of Humanoid is that his champion pool didn't feel as flexible or as deep as other mid laners in terms of effective champion picks. Now, we're seeing a different animal in Humanoid as one of the best mid laners, but already we have shrunk that down.
Olaf going to be banned away here by the Mad Lions. A bit surprised to see that one that early because now I guess Rogue simply ban away Varus here. You open up Ezreal or Aphelios first pick. We were going standard, but of course these are definitely not the most standard of teams. We could definitely see a curveball here.
I don't think you have to ban Varus just because you know that the Mad Lions don't put high priority on that, so you can guarantee that maybe you can get it, that they probably wouldn't burn a first pick on it.
Banning Shadow's Lee Sin, though. The Orianna Lee Sin combo denied, and we did see Shadow struggle a lot yesterday with the Volibear jungle, so I wonder what he's going to pull out today to show us a bit more.
At this point, Aphelios and Varus will probably go through to the teams. I think you can grab a blind Azir here because one of the things about Aphelios and Ezreal is that he really thrives when you have range advantage on the composition. And because Orianna is banned away, she's one of the best mid laners at creating zone control, Azir is kind of the next best at doing that. So this empowers you to play things like the Aphelios successfully. Because I think Aphelios struggles when he doesn't have range around him because he is a relatively short-range champion if he doesn't have his sniper rifle.
It's a good point, and I think I really like the breakdown. There's so many AD carries available that the Azir blind feels good here. I wonder what Rogue take, though, because Varus is still untouched. The permaban champion for so long has remained untouched so far. They're first going to grab an Ekko. Feels like it has to be the response into the Azir, although I guess technically you could call it the flex. And what is the final pick here in the first rotation from Rogue?
It's going to be one of the AD carries.
I mean, it's got to be, right? Varus, Aphelios, Ezreal, what do they actually want to go for? Hansama has been good on both the Ezreal and the Aphelios, but there's no Yuumi to pair with the Ezreal.
The danger is that if you do take the Varus, who's considered widely like the top-end ADC, that you know that you're probably going to get Senna Wukonged, because that's been the go-to for the Mad Lions. So the gauntlet's been thrown. Do Mad Lions feel comfortable to run the Aphelios into this competition, or do they take the Senna Wu?
Well, that's a Senna.
That's a Wukong.
And that's a Wukong.
Trap sprung.
And now we go. And now we have to see the pivot here from Rogue. Are they okay taking this matchup?
You have to take Tahm Kench here. You have to play Varus Kench.
Is there nothing else? Can you take Lulu? Can you take Braum?
You take Tahm Kench here.
Talia? Okay, that one doesn't make a lot of sense, but it could be the Talia, I guess.
I also think that Tahm Kench, not only to keep the Varus safe, but also it's kind of like the staple that you put with Varus because you allow him to have push priority or to safely have push priority or be aggressive in the lane and then use the Devour to reposition him, as well as it makes your dives really successful and you usually get control of the wave to set up a dive. And you can try to match some of the semi-global presence of the Senna ultimate. Yes, it's immediate with the Abyssal Voyage, but if you see a team fight happening, Senna gets to participate, you can also then participate with your Tahm Kench.
And Froskurinn, I love the accuracy on your predictions, but I look at these two compositions and I'm a little concerned for Rogue because I've seen the Azir be successful. I've seen the Senna Wukong be successful on the side of Mad Lions, but the Varus Tahm Kench bot lane, as good it is in theory, isn't something we've seen from Rogue quite yet, and now paired with the Ekko. Now, Larssen had a monster game yesterday, no doubt about that, but can he get the same effect from Ekko, who I think is a much more limited champion compared to the Ryzes or the Azirs or the Corkis?
We have seen it as a matchup into Azir, so it's not that uncommon, and I do expect it to be a mid lane Ekko as opposed to flexing into something like the jungle. It also then allows them, especially if Larssen does get fed, to play a side lane and open up another win condition for your team, especially when you have the Abyssal Voyage that we were talking about. So on top of like quick rotations with Abyssal Voyage, maybe the power of the Ekko into a side lane against a more stationary mid laner in Azir. Yeah, he can play side lane because he has the Shurima Shuffle and Disengage and usually runs Teleport, but it's never going to be as effective as an Ekko.
Interesting that the Ornn ban is now coming out as well as the Volibear. The Quinn ban here is interesting. Quinn, of course, we saw, very strong lane option into the Renekton, so Mad Lions have opened up essentially a blind Renekton for themselves as an option into the top lane.
And I think you have to take it. Renekton's going to be one of the safer blind picks left available to you because Wukong, you're already there. Technically, you could flex it by banning the Quinn. You're leaving it even more open or more powerful. So I think that this is telling that Orome is going to take Renekton.
See if Rogue could opt, obviously, to take it themselves.
Set or Trundle.
It's going to be the big one. Looks like Trundle will be the pickup here for the side of Rogue, getting their hands on a very high tier jungler very late. And I like that they grabbed the Trundle instead because they know that Shadow's champion pool has been so incredibly pinched at this point. The Lee Sin and the Volibear's two most recent picks. Trundle now taken away. What does he opt to go for? This is MAD Lions' final rotation. They have to finish their composition here. Renekton feels like the expected pick given the Quinn ban in the second phase, but it could be something else. Could be something crazy. Instead, it's Carzzy locking in the Renekton, the last one. That would be very bold and, in my opinion, very int given how strong a lot of the champions on the side Rogue are in the early game. But if you get through safely, Kayn is incredibly oppressive.
One of the things that MAD Lions composition is missing is kind of long-range engage, or just kind of engage in general.
Gragas? Split more AP damage? What? Broxa? Is that you? Have you come back from North America?
You almost said back from the dead.
I did, almost. Tell me, what was Jat like as a coach, Broxa? I want to know. All right, the Ivern for Shadow. This is, well, I'm gonna be honest, Froskurinn, we did a lot of draft prep coming into this, and it kind of shows in all the things you're talking about, but this wasn't on the map for either.
Yes!
What?
He did it! He finally did it! Okay, background story. Drakos, you and I were prepping like last split in spring, and we saw that Finn was playing a bunch of Illaoi because he was trying to find a counter, I think it was to Fiora?
No, it was Renekton.
Was it Renekton?
Yeah, I believe it was Renekton.
He was trying to find a counter to one of the Bruiser champions, and I was like, Finn, he's got to find something. Like, what's it going to be? Because he keeps having to go back to his comfort picks. And I saw him playing a lot of Illaoi, and so I started prepping all these fun picks on Illaoi. I've completely forgotten them by now, but I'm so happy to finally see it.
All by time. I'll talk about nonsense. You find the Google Doc where we put the Illaoi prep. We need it, Froskurinn. We need it now. Wow, two very big curveballs in this draft, and it's certainly delivering before we've even gotten into game. We're now seeing the first Ivern game and the first Illaoi game of 2020 summer season here. And it's time. It is MAD versus Rogue, the battle at the top of the standings. Froskurinn, I'm not gonna lie. Also, if you're joining us, it's MAD versus Rogue. If you're just joining us now, you're crazy. You missed a crazy pick ban. But before we start talking about individual lane matchups, I think we gotta talk about team compositions here because this is a little different. Now, maybe if you're an LEC diehard, you're getting used to everything that the Senna Wukong is doing. I don't think you're used to the Illaoi. I don't think you're used to the Ivern at this point in the game, but it's time to see exactly how both these compositions are going to play out. Obviously, a strong power point for Rogue in the bottom side is the Varus. And the lethality Varus, based on the comment that has now been selected. On the opposite side for Carzzy and Kaiser, we've seen what happens in this lane phase. It's mostly about surviving, but at level 6, the kill pressure is immense here. The CC setup from the Senna, even with VandeR having the Devour, can be honestly waited out, and the Wukong follow-up is ludicrously impressive. Kaiser, one of the few supports that we've seen in our league, as comfortable mechanically and in wave management as many of our top solo laners, I would say.
Yeah, and the big questions for me, as thank you, Drakos, for the bot lane breakdown, is kind of what this Ivern's going to do. We saw that Inspired has already cleared out the river vision by using his sweeper. Now, naturally, if you haven't seen Ivern in a while, he does this thing where he sets up his camps and then he has to wait a minute and then he quickly gets to eliminate all of his camps and get a ton of time to look for ganks or look for access on the map. As I'll hold it, level 2.
Larssen getting frisky, 1-2, looking for the third stack on the Z-Drive Resonance, already forcing the flash out of Humanoid. That's going to be big here in the early game because, fun fact, Ivern might do a lot of things, but early pressure definitely is not one of them.
It's also kind of one of the only windows that you can attack in Azir. It used to be in the Azir matchup that if you burnt his flash before level 5, you can actually try to punish him, and because he's going to have push priority, obviously in this lane, but in most matchups, if you can get an early level 2 or level 3 gank, burn that flash, it makes that pressure really ease off in the mid lane there. So we'll see what how that impacts the map, if that impacts Shadow now that he doesn't get to just have the free golden bird hard pushing from all the time because he doesn't have flash.
One of the really interesting things about both of these compositions is that outside of the Azir, we don't really have like the traditional hyper-scaling carry on either side, which is really, really interesting. This is something that you just do not see in the LEC, where there's always an Aphelios, or there's always a Corki, or there's always something that's, even the Kales that have been coming out recently. So to see so few really true late game scaling threats is going to make this a very unique game.
So we now have a gank.
Larssen though, flashing, running. Trigger seed not going to connect. Larssen still getting hit, ticking, burning. First blood. And that's going to be it. The red buff going to finish that one out. Shadow happy to have that. Flashing the TFT emote. That's classic Whippo BM already here in the Mad vs. Rogue game.
I'm just going to say it. I've seen a lot of things in League of Legends. I would not have expected a level 3 Ivern gank to get first blood to be one of the things that I've seen.
For the flash auto finish. I'm not going to say you love to see it because I don't. Not a big Ivern fan, but it works, and who am I to knock it? Inspired, trying to get some pressure down on the top side. You can see Finn feeling quite comfortable in this lane matchup. Does not connect the E, though. Looks like it was body block there for those of you who don't play or have not played against Illaoi. You're very lucky because this champion is infuriating to lane against. Test of Spirit is one of the most obnoxious abilities in the game. If she hits you with it, you have to walk away. That's essentially what it boils down to.
Yeah, the thing is that if you miss the E, you basically just get to sit that one out as Illaoi. Now, it is easier to hit it with Renekton's trade patterns. I finally found my Illaoi document. Thank you for stalling.
There you go.
When Renekton comes into you, that's kind of the window that you want there. She also itemizes really well with Death's Dance, and Illaoi is exceptionally good at compositions that run into you, which, look at MAD Lions comp. All of you look at it, use your eyes.
They do run into you.
They do run into you, and she scales really well into late game and does exceptionally well into tanks. So she can shred through them. If your dive is a dive composition, that's exactly where Illaoi wants to be. You dive into her, and she just starts smacking you with the tentacles.
And I think the difficult thing that always is that Illaoi lacks any hard CC herself. But as you said, if you're going to her, if you're going to bring your body into the middle of that team fight for her, it's going to make things quite easy. As Kaiser's now going to dash out here. All right, now admit, okay. Well, I want to, never mind, we're going to hold that thought. Shadow's moving up to the top side. Orome has been caught out. Tendrils going to slam down, provide a bit more healing. But Finn is going to flash away from that one, still going to get hooked up there. And now you can see the power of Illaoi here because they just don't have enough damage to kill her, and she has more than enough sustain to just survive that one.
Yeah, that's Illaoi doing Illaoi things. Like Renekton, she's one of those champions that is relatively hard to gank, because again, if you are running into her and she has her tentacle set up, and especially if she already has that E on you, it's going to be a bad time. So Finn does trade his flash, which Orome still has his, but is probably feeling pretty confident about that one.
And the good news, of course, for the Ivern is he's power farming quite well. The bad news is that because he revealed himself on top side, it gives Inspired free license to go ahead and pick up that Cloud Drake. Ultimate cooldown, of course, important for Finn as we get later and later in the game.
That is a big thing about Ivern, and why I'm really curious to see how Shadow is going to play this one out. Ivern, obviously not the greatest at like those 50-50 Baron moments about like hard pushing down Drakes. He's great at giving him time to set up in his jungle, playing around priority, and then kind of allowing his team to stick to targets and opponents, disrupting elongated team fights. But there is a very real world as we look towards like the Elder Drakes, the Dragon Souls, the Barons.
Yeah.
That a more traditional jungler might give you some more.
He just plays the game slow, quite frankly. All right, jungle, top lane, they're interesting. Froskurinn. I do want to talk about mid lane, though, because with Caps and Nemesis seemingly struggling to find their form. Dang it, I'll hold that thought. We're talking about a fight in the top lane. Finn gonna be in trouble, but here comes the ultimate. He starts dunking down, he starts healing up, and yeah, there's nothing left for Mad here on the top side. That is the difficulty that you mentioned. Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh, that is so sad. Illaoi looking like a wholesome champion at this point in the game.
She's so frustrating to play against. Like, any top laner who's ever had to face an Illaoi in solo queue, you're like pulling up the wiki page, you're like, what does this champion even do? And then you just try to trade on her. You can't do it. It's a myth.
Okay, we gotta watch it again. Never mind. Mid lane not as important. Okay, so they try to burst him down. Look at all that damage. Whoops. Boom. Hits 2 champions. Gets the tentacle. Of course, the spirit counts as a 3rd, so that's why you get the 3, and then I believe she gets the 4th. I think the 4th was already there. So that's just gonna be a lot of tentacles slapping down there onto Orome. Poor boy.
I just think she also has a lot of unclear damage in her kit.
Yeah.
But
also, she heals based on, I believe, her missing health as well. So the lower she is, the more she heals.
So if you don't know a lot about Illaoi, which I'm assuming majority of players don't because you usually don't see the champion,
yes.
She could probably catch you off guard.
Do you remember when Aphelios was what people compared about visual clarity around? Well, top laners have experienced it for years, and it's called Illaoi. What does she do? Why does she do so much damage? Nobody knows, but the TLDR is get away from her. don't stand in melee range. Sadly for Renekton as a melee champion, that might not be an option.
But kind of taking stock of the rest of the map, because we talked a lot about how Illaoi really counteracts teams that want to dive into her. So Rogue, obviously, seeing the trap that MAD Lions would spring, had their own trap card with the Illaoi. But we were just talking about those mid laners. Why don't you get that shiny graphic up, Drakos?
Ooh, I appreciate you. There it is, mid laners. And so here's the debate, right? Humanoid and Larssen looking like right now, in terms of currently performing mid laners, before anyone gets really triggered here, are the two best.
Let me help you out.
They're the two best mid laners.
They're the two best mid laners right now. Statistically, performing, your eye test, you touch them on Larssen and Humanoid, it feels nice. Okay?
Also, you look at the numbers, and let's be clear here, our stats team said, which numbers do you want? Normally, there aren't a ton of options. Normally, we like pick the ones that look the best. Every single one is good. Every single one is good. So rather than letting us decide who's the best mid laner, how about you tell us at home, dear Twitch chat? You can vote in chat, Humanoid or Larssen. Obviously, both of these names could be difficult to spell if you've never spelled them before, so be sure to get it right. And we'll check in a second here as this Herald gets contested, because Inspired's going to be in trouble. Carzzy going over, red buff knocked down. And while we're figuring out who's the best mid laner, Humanoid's just trying to scoop Inspired up. That is going to be the Herald taken away.
And for all the troubles that this Illaoi is giving MAD in the top lane, Humanoid on the Azir versus Ekko matchup is still consistently having the push priority there. His flash is back up. He wasn't really punished for it. And that's what's allowing the space to take things like the Herald. So really cleanly done from MAD Lions, especially good because they also rotated their bot lane up to assist them there. And let's see what they do with this Herald. If it's going to go into the bot lane, if it's going to go into the mid lane.
Yeah, and all things considered, MAD Lions starting to pull ahead. And ooh, Humanoid. Even after that Rise game, Twitch chat, even after that Rise game, I guess those Oriana games were pretty sick. It's a tough, there's no wrong choice here.
This is one of those things, everyone's a winner. Everyone's
a winner. I mean, because to be fair, for both these players, this was not even, they wouldn't have even been in the discussion for top 2 last season. It was not up for them. And now it's just a very different look for both MAD Lions and Rogue. Froskurinn, Herald's been taken. Ivern has worked out surprisingly well, I would say, in the early game.
But the thing is like, it does take him time to set up his pathing, but he can fly through the jungle as soon as he's set up, so you actually do get quite big windows for Ivern to set up ganks, and Shadow has been very aggressive on Ivern setting up these ganks.
Yeah, my big concern right now is top lane. I still think that's going to be a really difficult point, but I think one of the best parts of this is that Humanoid has just gotten infinite blue buffs over the course of this game, and Larssen has no mana, right? He's going to go Proto Belt early, and it's just, as you said, going to be a real struggle for him to match the wave clear of Humanoid, especially when Carzzy is now roaming up to help him get that pressure.
Yeah, and also then allowing Kaiser to get the solo EXP, obviously not under a threat of a dive, as we're going to see how confident MAD Lions are practiced with this Ivern objective secure, using Daisy to actually zone on the ramp.
Ooh, ulti used from Finn here, though. Just to do a bit more damage will make Orome's life a bit more difficult. You can see how much damage those tentacles are doing. Mad's starting to pull back here. Eyes on Finn, though. He does have TP, but he has no ult. There's no TP for Orome, so if Finn backs, he can TP into this fight. Obviously, Illaoi TP without ult is not that threatening. The stun they're trying to find. Shadow now locked in the pit. Inspired debating if he wants to step forward here. A little bit of poke, but now Wukong is going in. Larssen's been caught out. A big shield going across the entire team. The ult's going to go wide from Hansama. Definitely not the start to the fight that they wanted. Mad will grab this one, and Rogue will back away. But meanwhile, on the top lane, you have to hold that thought because Finn's out of mana. And now Renekton going for the dive. Finn, how did this happen? The flash away. Orome's going to take his time on this one. Unless Finn manages to get the E back up. Even if he does, I don't think there's any way he can do this. Finn, can you outplay this? The healing? Oh man, Finn should absolutely be dead. That damage is disgusting from the clone.
Narrator, he absolutely did, Drakos.
Just enough mana to survive. But now there's single plays everywhere. This is an all-out brawl.
And I can't wait till we actually get a replay of the dragon fight, because I really want to compliment MAD Lions team fighting. I think they're one of the best team fighting teams that we have in the LEC, particularly around their zone control. Their compositions are so creative, but what's so cool about them is the execution. Again, this opened up with Daisy actually zoning up into the choke point. But here, you can see Daisy, they're like, we don't have a top laner. Doesn't matter. We have an Ivern ultimate. He goes and holds 2 people. And then Inspired steps forward. Larssen isn't able to connect with the stun. You talked about Hansama also whiffs the ultimate, but great target selection and change for MAD Lions. As soon as Inspired steps up, they immediately change onto him.
What? Okay, that's either big brain or very unintentional on the cancel there on Illaoi recall.
I'm gonna say unintentional?
Big brain? Question mark? All right, now we're seeing the fight break on the top side. Got to keep your eye on Finn as well. The stun going to connect from Larssen. He flashes over the wall. He's got the blast cone out to safety. Infernal Rift coming in clutch. Just in time to take him out to safety, and MAD Lions are going to back off empty-handed here. Finn, is he going to stay and hold the tower? Looks like Larssen instead will be the one left to secure top lane.
Did the Rift... Oh, okay. I was going to say, did the Rift Herald just time out? I saw it disappear, but no, he got it done.
Here we go. Now the push forward from Kaiser. The Wukong can't make his way out to safety. That's the Cyclone now coming in inspired, the one who's been isolated here. Kaiser has the reactivation. He has locked him down, but they don't have the follow-up damage. Carzzy, no ult quite yet. They can't finish that one off. But it does mean that they are going to be able to secure the tower, and right before the tower plays fade away, 13-15, only 45 seconds left, and it looks like they should be able to get all 5.
Yeah, and what looked like a pretty rough start for Orome into this top side.
That thought. Perfect ult comes in from Hansama. Carzzy has to flash over the wall, clean mechanics, but now Finn should be able to chase him down. He's speeding up. That's the curse of the Black Mist, and he is going to be able to make it out for now, but Larssen is on the chase. Z-Drive Resonance has not been procced. That's the movement speed he needs to finish this one off, but he can't find the opportunity, and now they're looking to turn and burn. Carzzy keeping the team healthy, and they will walk away.
But look at Humanoid across map. While MAD Lions have managed to disengage after getting the Herald charge, it does mean that Azir is getting all of this time, all of these plates, all of this golden experience on bot side. So overall, still a win for MAD Lions, especially because Rogue really had to overreach to try to find something.
And the game working out very well, even after the tragic Illaoi topside plays. MAD are staying in control, and Humanoid playing incredibly, building up CS advantage. We've just yet to really see a lot coming in from Larssen here. Finn can try to turn this one with the ult, but he doesn't have enough time. CC, just the bane of Illaoi. If she can't auto, if she can't push W, she just goes down.
And I also just love how much of a delivery service Senna and Ivern are together for these short-range bruisers like Wukong and Renekton to get on top of targets, to give them that highway into backlines.
It's like you've built the Yuumi that isn't totally useless early game. The build of Yuumi. Infinite healing, more than enough. And the thing about Rogue's composition is there's decent burst damage on Hansama, but it's entirely reliant on his opponents not building armor. There's good burst damage on Larssen, but unless he builds an Asher's Tooth, which he may be going to there, he doesn't have a lot of sustain. And it's a similar story for Finn, so this healing and shielding is going to be very difficult for Rogue unless they get that Dream Illaoi 5 tentacle, 6 tentacle play.
Which I've definitely seen ruin my solo queue game, so I'll hold up there. I do like the fact, though, that Rogue back onto the map, split up, did answer the tower 1-for-1 bot side for Larssen, as well as him also picking up a ton of that gold. But if you look over to the left hand of your screen, still not a good story for Rogue fans.
No, it's not. The good news is that a lot of those gold differences, especially between Hansama and Larssen and their respective lane opponents, aren't the biggest, 500, 300. It's going to matter a lot when items are completed, but for now, no significant item advantage quite yet. Top lane definitely going to be difficult. Illaoi I optimized for extra CDR and not completing an item.
I think that Rogue's first items, especially Proto Bell and the Umber Blade.
Ooh, clean flash. This time there is no saving him. Carzzy caught out. I like the trap from Rogue.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is the 1 items for Hansama and Larssen I actually think are pretty significant at this state of the game. But right there was actually just one of those amazing vision plays that we know Rogue are very capable of. We talk about their macro improvements, particularly the vision game. You've heard it over and over again. They really understand how to play around pressure with Fog of War. So not just placing wards, but especially denying you vision and manipulating your information to make plays like that. Rogue do it all the time.
And they have the tools to do so as well. You look at it, they've got 3 sweepers between mid, jungle, and support. And additionally, they have an Umbral Glaive, an even shorter cooldown, arguably more powerful sweeper in a lot of circumstances, which just allows them to find those opportunities. That said, MAD are still moving in here first. Carzzy is here in time, and Rogue do not feel equipped to contest this one. It is, of course, only the second Drake for MAD Lions, so Rogue have a lot of time before they really have to fight for these, but it is going to matter more and more as we get later in the game.
And the question is going to be around this second Herald and who's going to get it and who's going to use it to preferably break the mid lane tower. So Rogue traded positioning on the Drake for this Herald.
We have to see if Rogue can keep it together as we get later in the game. So we look at these two teams, Froskurinn, it's like kind of the creativity and the fighting from MAD we've just seen already across this game. And I think the big thing for Rogue is that they've just been so clean and consistent across their wins, and we have to see if when they're at this kind of deficit, when they're starting to fall behind a little bit, if they can still find those windows of opportunity, find picks like they did against Carzzy, and get themselves back in this game.
Well, so far, they're doing a good job moving Larssen around, continuing to funnel gold and experience into him. Now picking up this Herald, and with the 2 outer towers down, we expect that this Herald will be used into that mid lane position. MAD Lions absolutely know this and should be moving in, clearing out the jungle, like you're seeing Shadow do right now, and then setting up the defense or the counter play to the mid lane push that Rogue are about to front.
And I like, going back to itemization for a second, I like that we're seeing the Nashor's Tooth coming from Larssen because there are, once again, not a ton of burst champions on the side of MAD. A lot more sustained damage. Of course, Renekton and Wukong are scary, but usually Larssen will have some time to auto-attack, or hopefully will, or this item choice is going to feel quite bad. Additionally, I like that we're seeing Black Cleaver be the early build come in here for Carzzy because he is just a support, setting up that Renekton, setting up that Wukong. So the more armor shred you can get on this team, the better.
But it's also making sure that you can get that Wukong and that Renekton into the backline, which is actually why I really like the Ivern and the Senna. So we talked about MAD Lions know that the mid lane push is going to come in from Rogue. They have the Rift Herald. They're playing around it and what their counterplay was going to be. And this is the counterplay. This is the sit in a bush and wait, but they walked over some wards by clearing them out to do so. So that's why you see Rogue being so cautious moving back in here.
And to be fair, it was still very close. Inspired with the sidestep from Fog of War. The TP now being used top side. Kaiser just going to use his ulti to escape. Has a second charge as well. They'll pull back. Tahm Kench going to bring the rest of the team here. It's 5 people strong on the top side. Shadow has to be careful. He has no camp to get away from. Once again, Hansama's ult to kick things off. And that's one very squishy Ivern. But Nimbus Cloak, the Flash, and the Smite will ferry him out to safety. Both sides just backing off here. Mad's trap fails, and Rogue hold on to their topside tower.
Yeah, but can Rogue get back into position here? Because now I think Rogue kind of go back to the original game plan, which is trying to break this mid tower. But the Azir is obviously going to be a big problem. So Finn looking for a deep flank. Humanoid, you smell it.
Also, no offense, Finn, but Illaoi flanks are pretty underrated. You don't have CC. Like we said earlier, it's really a lot about either...
When people dive into you.
Yeah, either you sit on a side lane at 2 or 3 items, which we've seen a long time ago just be nigh unstoppable on Illaoi, or you let people come to you, which, to be fair, Mad's comp does have to do if they want to kick off a team fight.
Thanks, Kaiser.
It's okay, guys. We're farming right now, says Kaiser.
He's freezing right now. Or it's actually going to slowly turn into a big slow push.
There you go. More pressure on the top side. And remember, we talked about this. Kaiser, good support, good top laner. Like most supports, though, bad CSer. Missed one there. That's not good. And of course, while we have a brief break, reminder, this might be the battle of the 2 best teams right now, but those guys who used to be good are up next, so don't go anywhere. That's our Alienware match of the week, G2 versus Fnatic. And the Herald, as predicted, Froskurinn will be used mid lane. MAD don't really have enough wave clear or resources in the mid lane to stop that one from charging in and breaking down. So Rogue feel pretty good about that as their mid lane tower still stands strong. It just frees up the Varus to get in there, to clear out that vision and to look for those picks.
Yeah, now it's creating the open map for Larssen and hopefully this Abyssal Voyage to play that hit and run League of Legends to look for those picks and those skirmishes. But for MAD, that's them saying, okay, we'll give up mid lane tower. The Herald's going to come down, deny us. But meanwhile, they've had Wukong and Renekton out into the side lanes picking up this gold and experience. So it was a handshake on where we were going to trade priority here.
Yeah, and I really like that we're seeing so much CS picked up here by the side of MAD Lions. Of course, as they slow push these waves in, eventually Finn will be able to catch, but there's a big CS discrepancy between the Renekton and the Illaoi, as well as the bot laners. The good news for Rogue is that Hansama has a lot more than respective opponent Kaiser at this stage of the game, but Illaoi falling behind, not ideal. Still should be fine in the 1v1, but obviously want to get a few more items under her belt.
Now the Drake Infernal is going to spawn in 30 seconds, so I imagine that we're going to see Kaiser leave his freeze top side, start his back, and join up with his team as we're setting up for this Drake. Unless maybe they decide that it's fine to give away the second Drake, not fight for it. They are kind of in between some items. No, he's going to back for it.
They can't threaten the Baron, but they don't have the best Baron clear. Azir is their biggest source of damage. Blade of the Rune King on Renekton is going to feel good, but the passive damage is, of course, capped against the Baron. So while it will be a healthy Baron, it will be a slow Baron. Larssen fishing now with the stun.
Okay, look for possible TPs for Kaiser. He's on base and he's looking for it right now.
But look to find the flank.
He's got a deep ward. I was just going to say, he's got the deep ward behind the Drake, so Kaiser on flank. How do Rogue survive this?
Inspired now going to back off, taking so much damage before he can even get the ult off. He's now getting knocked up, but Illaoi has found the test of spirit. Orome now has to retreat, so no more tentacles get in. And there's Kaiser right to the back line. The exhaust goes down, but it might not be enough. Hansama's going to be in trouble. Almost one shot. VandeR split from Hansama. Kaiser desperately wants to finish the kill. He's going to grab one. Orome buys space as Larssen is forced away. MAD Lions will lose no one, and they'll take out 2 in the process, setting their sights on the mid lane tower in that Infernal Drake.
Yep, Kaiser found a good teleport. That said, I don't think it was exceptionally necessary with the game turner, which is kind of the cherry on top of that team fight. Obviously, when you have your Illaoi die without having access to the ultimate, the team fight was probably a wash for you, but it will mean that Infernal.
And that, of course, is going to, set MAD up for Soul Point here. They take that one quite easily, but Carzzy and Shadow definitely not the ideal duo for a quick Baron. So we'll take a little while. They now get to reset. Baron has to be the next objective in the sights of both teams and the inevitable soul point threat as we look back at this team fight.
So I was watching the mini-map here, so I'm just going to take a quick glance at what happened. Well, the disengage was used on Inspired, who took a ton of damage, and then you don't really have a tank. There's not great tactical setup from Finn here.
Yeah, as much as we talk about people walking into him, he also has to be tanky enough to survive the burst damage, and he has to deal with the CC.
I was going to say, speaking of walking into, Finn basically got threw up in the air while there was like 3 sand soldiers just making sushi.
And I feel so bad for Hansama because he's doing a lot of damage with the Q, but then he can do nothing else because there's a Wukong chasing him down. And this is where the investment into a pick like an Azir, and that first pick Azir, something we so rarely see, really pays off because they just have a reliable source of sustained damage. Rogue absolutely do not.
And it's also this question about, you know, range. Would this have been better for Hansama if he didn't go for the Varus? It feels like MAD Lions kind of feel like the Varus is a bit of a trap pick because he is quite low mobility, and that maybe an Ezreal would have been better here, but...
I also just think you're hard countered by Wukong. He gets armor from his passive. Now your lethality is useless. He has jumps and double knockup to leap on top of you. So unless Tahm Kench is going to burn everything to save you and you both got flash as well, you're going to die. And even if you don't die, all that stuff being burned on you means you don't get to play the fight.
It's just, it's hard. I mean, it was second rotation Varus. He saw an Azir. He's like, that's fine. I can play the lethality Varus. I can try to outrange and, you know, poke, have these long-range Nidalee spears that hit multiple targets there. So, like, I totally understand. You have great wave control and a lot of power into that bot lane, but I don't know. It feels like MAD Lions are saying dive is the way to go, and maybe we start to see the shaping of the LEC meta and a moving away from a high priority of Varus when it feels like there's a lot of options against him and champions like Aphelios because they are low mobility.
Yeah, and what does it open up if Varus isn't first on the table in terms of bans? We'll have to see. Finn. Rune King going to be proc. Finn now needs to run. He's going to get the Test of Spirit, additional TP lockdown. Humanoid going to push him away, but still big damage coming in from Finn. The tentacles going down left and right, but Finn not able to find a target, not able to heal up quite yet. They're going to burst him down before he gets anything else, and Larssen is going to snap back. Wants to turn this, wants to get away. Z-Drive Resonance procced. The snare will be there, but it's delayed, meaning Larssen is able to get out. Still, Inspired on the front line, taking away those stats, more than tanky enough to body block. And Rogue will retreat, losing Finn in the process, but Humanoid goes down as well.
Really nicely played from Larssen, though, and I believe he picked up a shutdown off of Humanoid. So that one's going to feel really good. Obviously, you want to get this guy's springboard ahead of the clock so he can play those side lanes, start threatening some of these towers maybe, because the team fights are really difficult right now for Rogue. Taking a look at it, Humanoid comes in, big damage from Finn. He then uses the stopwatch or stasis effect to buy time for his team to collapse. He's then going to immediately flash out to make sure that there's no potential stun coming down on top of him, but there's Larssen picking up the shutdown. And Hansama shows up on the back end with VandeR just to kind of smile and wave, help escort the boys home.
Of course it is the Senna Ivern that we talked about, so if anyone's going to zoom at you, it's going to be those two working together. And Froskurinn, I think very lucky for both sides that there was nothing really on the table around that fight. They do burn the TP though from the side of MAD as well as Rogue, which is going to matter a lot in the objectives to come. But another fight like that when there's Infernal Drake up or a Baron on the table could very well break the game wide open for MAD Lions, allow them to just take over Rogue space.
So I'm glad that you bring up the TP difference here, the fact that Orome then has to play the side lanes, and if there is an opportunity for Rogue to try to punish that, the fact that it will be Renekton bot side while we are playing around this Baron setup.
And the really awkward thing, Froskurinn, is that when we look at both bot lanes, you can say, yes, they both have TPs. The difference is, I don't give a damn about Varus TP. You're not flanking with lethality Varus. Like, maybe in the craziest world you are.
You're flanking minions.
Yeah, flanking some minions, really consistent there. You can move to catch a wave, but the Wukong TP, on the other hand, is a constant fear in the back of Rogue's head. That flank ward instantly ends a team fight. So, while yes, summoner spells, you know, generally pretty even when you look at champ select across the board, it's just not the case in this
But
game.
look at Team Sweeper, and thank you, observers, for toggling the vision, showing that there is nothing for Kaiser to TP to find another flank. That is 4 Sweepers on the side of Rogue with just the blue orb from Varus here. So they're trying to make sure that that doesn't happen.
4 Sweepers, Umbral Glaive, MAD will see nothing. But it doesn't look like they need to see anything to kick off a fight. Larssen's going to throw the W over the wall, hoping to catch and find a flank. An excellent ult to start the fight for Hansama, hitting multiple targets, locking them down. Daisy taken out before any real follow-up damage is there, but Kaiser waiting. Is going to use his own sweeper, spot out that ward. Know that the flank has been spotted. Infernal Soul, this is it.
Watch Larssen, he's going around the back, trying to get that flank. He will be spotted by this ward now.
Cleared out. They now pull back. Mad Lions, they're going to retreat. They know that this flank is incredibly important for the side of Rogue. If they can't get it, the team fight gets way easier. But Orome taking big chunks here as they go forward. Finn looking for that opportunity. No flash means the ult setup is going to be much harder.
Finn is making sure that Kaiser doesn't get a flank. He's actually been chasing him out, and slowly but surely these tentacles are being set up by. But Illaoi does a poor job chasing into opponents. Again, she wants them to dive back into where her tentacles are already set.
2K getting lower. Looks like we're going to have a 50-50. Larssen going to be zoned away from the fight. Kaiser going to go in and they're going to try to get it, but no, a miracle steal. Hansama is able to take that one away. Still, Inspired knocked up. Orome has to return. Finn trying to find the setup. It's not going to happen. Finn trying to throw out the tentacles. Maybe he can get the ult. Maybe he can turn this one. Pulling back, getting good damage down, but it's simply not enough. Yes, they bought more time around the soul from the side of Rogue, but if MAD get the Baron, it will not be worth it.
And that's the thing. Rogue need to quickly reset and get over to cover this Baron because Mad Lions are making it very clear what they're doing. They're like, fine, you denied us the soul. They are sprinting towards this Baron, forcing Finn to teleport and sprint back after.
Illaoi coming in. Hansama has the healing reduction, and VandeR has the ultimate. They can contest this one. Observers, thank you. The darkness. Rogue don't know what they're walking into. They don't know what MAD are doing. Daisy gonna zone. Daisy gonna buy time. The Azir starting through that health bar. 3K getting lower and lower. Hansama stole one. Can they steal one more? But no. Shadow takes it. That's the Baron for Mad Lions.
Oh, very well done by Mad Lions. Pressure call. Didn't waste a second, immediately turned on the Baron, picked it up. This composition's going to burn through it, even though they don't have a traditional ADC. The power of Azir, the power of the Renekton, the power of that Wukong.
And such a tense game, Froskurinn. 30 minutes in, 5K advantage for Mad Lions. They're on Soul Point. Rogue are only at the 2 Drakes themselves. Now it's survival for Rogue. They have, of course, more than enough tools to clear out the vision to deny potential picks coming in from Mad, but they have to survive the siege of the Ivern, the Senna, and the Azir together.
Taking another look at this. Now, again, look at where Finn's tentacles are. So he can't just dive forward and make a lot of this work for him. He needed the tentacles to be much more forward, but Mad Lions did a good job playing the team fight really slow. Credit to Hansama. He does deny the soul by stealing that one away. But Mad Lions just never really chase into Finn. They kind of pick up the kill, force them back, the Sand Soldiers come out, but then they just kind of immediately turn around.
And it's just very, I think, while the Illaoi feels good because the team comp has to go forward, it feels really bad because there's so much CC that she just cannot reliably get good setups here. And there's not really enough follow from the team to follow her in when that situation happens. So Mad, they now get to set up their siege. Pushing in on the bottom side, it's Carzzy and Orome together. Humanoid solo holding mid lane. Maybe gets picked off here, but Larssen coming over the wall. It's a bit too telegraphed. Humanoid is going to dash right out of that one as the tower already breaks on the bottom side. Shadow just buying space, keeping his eyes on the opponents as Orome and Carzzy continue to push forward. Finn can do a lot of damage to that Ghost here. It's going to significantly take Carzzy down. Healing reduction as well, and the curse will slow Mad in their tracks for now.
But Mad Lions are doing a great job playing all 3 lanes with their Baron, especially then using the passive from Azir that he can fall back to that tower to allow Carzzy to play with Orome. So you have Kaiser, who's playing teleport topside. You have Humanoid, who's playing with his passive turret in the mid lane. And then you have Orome being covered by Carzzy and Shadow.
Sadly, the waves are not crashing at the same time, so it's not forcing Rogue to make multiple decisions. They've simply split their composition up, but the double cannon minions on the top side may deserve more attention. As Humanoid starts to crash, we now finally have 3 pressure points. As I said, that the bottom falls away, and Humanoid's gonna get locked up. They push away, they can't find the stun, but Larssen flashing back in. That's a miracle shutdown. That buys more time, but VandeR moving to the mid lane along with Hansama. They're gonna need to hold on to bot as well. Mad Lions have gotten a lot of damage down on the turrets, but they have not opened up the base, and Rogue are holding on.
Here comes Larssen, deep teleport. Thank you, observers.
This is the play that Rogue need. Maybe, just maybe, this is the miracle that can turn the game. It is Mad, no doubt, in control for now. But Carzzy's going to be in trouble. Larssen looking for the setup. The TP now coming in. Larssen going to go forward. He's going to get the stun as Kaiser comes in, but the damage there is simply too much, and now Mad have turned it again. Kaiser on the way in. Second Cyclone being used. VandeR has been caught out. The CC follow-up there from Shadow is too much for them to deal with, and now Banshee's Veil taken away as Hansama runs. He tries to throw down the damage, but it just doesn't matter. There's too much armor. The lethality is not enough, and now Orome gets to slice and dice his way through the Rogue lineup. Mad Lions unstoppable here in the LEC, and this is the game.
And it was so close. Larssen was gonna go for the hero moment, but he lands on top of Carzzy, immediately CC locked and deleted. And just like how they deleted him from the Rift, MAD Lions kick over Rogue and saying, who's next?
MAD Lions undisputed at the top of the table in the LEC. What can't this team do?
Frankly, made it look easy.
Yeah. I got real scared, Froskurinn, when I saw that Illaoi get a kill. And then it just seemed like a non-factor for every other stage of the game.
They are so clean at playing team fights. All of those dragon fights, the zone control, the space, how slow they played it. Very fun to watch.
And special shout out to Orome. I think when people look at these teams, we often talk about the top laners being a weaker point, but Orome spent his entire game just denying Larssen access to his backline, and it worked phenomenally. You saw in that dragon fight that was the big game changer that Larssen didn't really get to play whatsoever.
Also, Shadow on that Ivern, like, he was invading the enemy jungle camps. He was constantly applying pressure to his lanes.
I hate this champion so much in solo queue that I don't ever want to praise an Ivern, but it was such a damn good Ivern game. Kia player of the game at LEC on Twitter, Shadow, Humanoid, Kaiser. Don't play Ivern in any solo queue, but Shadow, you most certainly can play it on stage. Absolutely well earned. And I don't know. Is it Kaiser Wukong? Do we credit Humanoid for all the sustained damage he did? It was pretty good from just everyone across the board, to be honest.
I say you give it to the Ivern. I mean, I think Humanoid was like the hard carry of the team fights. Kaiser had the sick teleport, but I think Shadow in his early game Ivern performance, able to find his laners like hard priority and then like contest a lot of those objectives. His zoning control with Daisy, I think was exceptional.
And I feel like once again, we see a world where MAD Lions are always a step ahead in draft. After the break, we're going to give you a full breakdown of the battle for first, so don't go anywhere.
G2 are inevitable. G2 are inescapable. Matching the record set by Fnatic. 7 titles for G2.
Even right now, winning LEC is not like something big. It's more about beating G2.
The goal here is to beat G2 and to get the trophy back.
Like right now, we're just playing our own game, where we have to keep staying ahead of everyone else. And that's always harder than it is to catch up to someone.
And welcome back to the LEC studio. The MAD Lions win battle for first, and Orome, congrats on this victory.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's one thing I would like to show you before diving into the match per se. Let's look at the win moments from you guys, because I get that there's some synergy, intense moment, but explain to me what your two teammates did, because it looks like by the end, Carzzy and Humanoid were getting a bit too intense here. Let's just wait for it.
It's just...
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So what was that?
That's just a standard MAD Lions interaction. We all bully each other in various ways to strengthen our mental and...
All right.
Yeah, that's basically what's happening there.
Okay, your approach of team building, let's say, you do you guys are winning so far, so no judgment here. But let's talk about the draft a bit more. I feel like everyone was surprised for the Illaoi pick from Rogue here, especially since especially since it was a last pick. What did you think about the Illaoi in this situation here? Was it a good pick?
Well, I think Illaoi is really good against incoms that need to jump in to do anything. So basically, if they had a poke comp, which they kind of did, I guess, with Varus, it would be good. But I think if we have Senna and Azir, we actually outrange them. So in the end, it wasn't such a good pick.
Yeah, I mean, they had the poke. They also had the 1-3-1 tools to put their composition. I mean, with the Ekko, with the Illaoi, as we said. I don't feel like they managed to put the 1v1 as they wanted to. So what did you guys do to prevent them from doing that and stick to team fight? Because, yeah, Illaoi was...
Well, basically, I think Illaoi can't really team fight against our team because we outrange them. And she's not a strong side laner. Like it's not easy to force objectives or to dive people with Illaoi. She's more of a weak side.
Okay.
Of a champ that challenges you to go try to dive her 1v1, 2v1, 3v1, and then just turns it around. And since we had a more objective, focused playstyle in this game, and she had to group a lot, it didn't end up being very useful.
Yeah, it was super well done. Felt like you guys were playing 5v4, against them. But one thing that I really like from your composition was the Ivern. I feel like it gives these solo laners many tools and a lot of support. So how is it to play with an Ivern on your team when you're a solo laner?
Basically, you should think about it like this. You don't have a jungler until level 6, and at level 6 you have 2 junglers. That's Ivern and his Golem Daisy. So yeah, that's how we should look at it with Ivern. After he gets 6, he is really good in the game, and if he can get to that point without getting too far behind, then he's really good as a champion.
All right, I see. Well, Drakos thought he was a very annoying but useful champion here, so we also saw that. Now, about the unofficial match of the week and battle for first. How happy are you right now to be in the first place in the LEC after this game, and what does this mean to you?
I mean, honestly, just being first place doesn't mean that much to me. What I'm really happy about is how well we are doing as a team, how much we've improved after the spring split. And I'm also really happy with my own performance and how I can help my teammates more than last split, especially in playoffs. So basically for us, I don't think the placings, the standings matter so much, but rather how we play as a team.
And how you guys develop. And so far, off to a very good start. Thank you very much, Orome, for the interview.
Thank you.
And for more on this game, let's send it over to the studio for post-game breakdown. Take it away, Vedius.
Hello again, Laure. It's me, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the draft, because we had some pretty creative stuff. So we're looking at MAD Lions versus Rogue, and the first thing I want to draw your attention to was that first pick, Azir. When we look at some of the bans, a big power pick was taken away from the MAD Lions in the form of the Orianna. This shifted and allowed MAD Lions to actually go for this priority on the Azir. When they then moved into their second phase, they rounded things out with the Senna Wukong, and this is actually quite a traditional MAD Lions style of composition, which they often use as a means to answer champions like the Varus. Now, this is where some questions were brought up between myself and Ender, because we were looking at this and saying, okay, we understand Ekko in isolation and what he does as a counter pick against Azir, but when you pair it up against the Varus, you end up with two champions that want to do slightly different things. You've got one champion that wants champions to come to him, he wants to poke at range, he wants to keep you at arm's length, but Ekko wants to be diving into the backline. He wants a buddy to be threatening him. And as we kind of move over to the rest of this composition, you notice that Rogue don't actually have a lot of dive tools. This champion, Tahm Kench, its purpose is to help protect the Varus. Same for the Illaoi, not in the form of protection, but typically you want champions to come into you. And as we move back to the Mad Lions squad, yes, they do have dive options, but they still have a long set of range tools as well. And this is something that we heard from Orome in his interview. Because they have the Azir, because they have the Senna, they have this front line that they can look to play behind, using the long range of this, and Ivern kind of acting in the middle of the two, providing both utility and support with the ultimate. All in all, this makes things very difficult for Rogue to ultimately find big team fights later on, and I'm gonna send this over to Ender now, who's going to break down one of these big team fights to show you how difficult it was for Rogue.
Thanks, Vedius. I'm going to be taking a look at that 21-minute Infernal Drake fight that Mad Lions were able to take for themselves, because strangely enough, we didn't really see that many big team fights, but it was this one right here that set the tone for the entire game, because it proved that Rogue were not going to be able to find a successful fight. So at 21 minutes, Infernal Drake is spawning. This would be the third of the game for the Mad Lions. You can already see inside of the base down here, Kaiser is waiting to go for a teleport play, and he's looking at this ward right here. This ward is so pivotal for him because it allows him to come through here thanks to Infernal Rift. He's got some openings where he can find this flank, because as he does that, the rest of Mad Lions is going to try and force Rogue into this tight corridor right here where all hell is going to break loose onto them. So let's check this one out as we roll this clip. Boom. Waiting for it. We got it. There we go. Excellent stuff. Now, Mad Lions have some long-range pick tools. We're going to see it at the start when Shadow finds out Inspired, but I want you to look at Carzzy, who lands an insane W into the backline. It's going to end up tagging Hansama, and this sets up for everything to go awry, because Kaiser is able to get into this backline and destroy Hansama. Now, as we see this play out, it seems fairly obvious, right? Like, there's 4 melee champions on Rogue's team with all these ranged threats, and they're never able to walk towards the Mad Lions. Larssen, who's over here constantly on the opposite side of the fight, is going to be soloed out by Orome and forced away from the rest of it. You also get a beautiful example of how Tahm Kench does nothing against this Wukong. Wukong's only job in the fight is to dive on towards Hansama, and he completely ruins him. He's in the backline in between 3 people, but VandeR simply can't do anything, because as Wukong's jumping into the backline, he's also knocking up that Tahm Kench. So even though the idea of the Tahm Kench was to save Varus, compositionally it was just not going to work out. And I love that Mad Lions were able to build a comp like this to hard counter some of the champions that Rogue brought out. Now, when we return, it's time for Match of the Week between G2 Esports and Fnatic, with Shadow joining us for picks and bans. We'll see you after this.
Hey guys, I'm Special from Excel, and this weekend is G2 against Fnatic, and I think G2 will take the win.
G2 is gonna win because they have more Danish players.
So I think G2 is gonna win against Fnatic because I think they are just overall the better team, and they proved that over the past year.
I think G2 is gonna win.
I think this week in the G2 against Fnatic match, G2 will win.
I think G2 will win convincingly because they are just way more active on the map and also more clever on the map, so I think it will be a convincing victory for them.